talk to you about using graphic novels in your classroom. Personally, I love graphic novels, but I am a bit of a comic book nerd. The first book I'd like to talk about is The Arrival. And The Arrival is one of my favorite graphic novels that you probably actually heard of. It has no text. It is all visual. My favorite thing to do is to use this book the first day of school for freshmen and sometimes for 6th grade. It just depends. But when you're a new person in a new place, it makes this a really interesting book. The great thing about this book is that it is about a man who leaves his place and goes to a new place, but you can't tell where it is, so it really crosses all cultural boundaries because every place that he goes to in the book is magical and different and could be the same for any person who is an immigrant to a new place. That's why I like to use it for the first class of school. It's interesting to look at the way the first few pictures are taken because the images all have different colors and they're all different types of immigrants that have come to different places. So it's interesting to talk to the kids about just even the inside front cover. I like to question the kids about why there are so many different types of people in this front cover and why the image of each photograph has a different coloring. Then I usually talk through the book and talk to the kids about how the first few pages show small little sections of what we call the splash page, and this is the splash page right here. We look at each image as it builds to the next page, and I have them notice that all of these little images are in the splash page. As I read this book to the class, I usually have them work on this panel graphic organizer because then they can look at the panel style, the visual appeal, and look at the different illustrations and notes as we are reading through the book. And that's part of their grade. And it makes them kind of use critical thinking skills just for looking at pictures. Then, because The Arrival is a book without words, I have them tell a story without words. So they have to depict emotion and action without any words in a 5-panel comic, and it's really very fun sometimes to do this and then show all of them after class has finished, and then they love looking at each other's comics because it's usually quite funny. Persepolis is a great memoir written by an Iranian who writes about her childhood as she was growing up. So it makes a really good example for students to write their own graphic narratives. Please see the attached Google document for the full lesson. These graphic adaptations of Romeo and Juliet and the Odyssey are excellent for teaching ELLs. I love this version of Romeo and Juliet because it uses some of the old language and mixes it with modern language. Another great thing about using this with my freshmen was after teaching Romeo and Juliet for 5 years, it got a little boring just reading the play. So the good thing is we can spice it up by adding just a couple of the graphic novel scenes and acts instead of doing all reading straight from the play. The Photographer is a great book for high school students because it mixes photographs, film strips, and drawings all to tell the story of a photojournalist that travels to Afghanistan to chronicle a Doctors Without Borders mission. This would make a great PBL because you could have the students read this book and then they could take another piece of history from the curriculum and create their own mixed media piece detailing the life of a figure from that time period. They could research and find photographs and then incorporate that into creative writing so they could teach others about a culture and time period of a country that they've researched. Lastly, I have outlined in my document some excellent ways to use these graphic novels for literature circles. So please check the document for those lessons, and always feel free to email me any questions you have about any of my assignments. Thanks!